members of the General Law Committee. My name is Tami Zawistowski, representative from the 61st District. I'm here today to request your support for HB 5326, an act prohibiting the capture and use of facial recognition technology for commercial purposes. You have my written testimony, so I'll summarize. I first became aware of this issue after watching an NBC troubleshooter segment on how facial recognition software was being used by some retailers, and I decided to check a little bit further into it. Facial recognition has been around for some time, mostly for security, at airports, for example, at sporting events, at concerts, to alert security of people who may cause others harm. The software uses biometric identifiers, which would be things like measuring spacing between the eyes, angle of chin. If you've ever watched NCIS or Person of Interest on TV, you kind of get the idea. You've kind of seen it in action. Technology has now become much cheaper and easier to use. Our large retailers started using it first to identify shoplifters and other people who might be other types of criminals that might be causing a problem. It's now expanded to the retailers' use of facial recognition software for commercial purposes, way beyond the security needs. It includes recognizing what retailers consider high-value customers when they walk through the door, or getting alerts for litigious individuals or even people who come in and make too many returns. It also allows them to create customer databases showing what customers buy, how much time they spend in each aisle, who they talk to in the store, and even worse, what their kids and grandkids are doing while they're in the store. This information gets stored on a server somewhere or maybe in the cloud, and now maybe you're on somebody's database and you've done nothing wrong. And there's always the potential of data breaches. And because there's no obligation for retailers to disclose that they're using it, customers are unaware that it's going on. Other concern I have is misidentification. The software is not perfect. The highest rates of misidentification are for young people, for African Americans, and for women. If you've been on Facebook and you've put up a group photo and see the suggested tags to identify people, you know often that they're wrong, and this could happen very well with this type of software in a retail setting. I do recognize there's legitimate uses for this, but I believe that using for marketing without full exposure, especially, is an invasion of personal privacy. I'm not proposing that we prohibit use of this entirely, but we do need to hit the brakes and slow it down a little bit, especially when this technology is being used for commercial purposes. And for additional information, I've included with my testimony some sales information from one of the biggest providers of this software. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions from my colleagues? Senator Kissel and then Representative Carter. Representative Carter, if you will.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And thank you very much for being out to testify on this today. I know when we saw this coming, a lot of us were thinking this is a very interesting concept. So my question is this, with respect to what you've heard about the use of this in stores and for marketing, in its current way it's being used, is there some sort of customer interface where they've given permission to be in the marketing plan for the company, or what have you heard about that part? Is there any permission to be given?
No, I've not heard of anybody giving permission, and a lot of retailers do not admit that they're using it. The big one that does admit using it is Walmart, and I guess some have tried, and there's different vendors that are out there, but you could ask them, and they have no obligation to disclose whether they're using it or not. So I have not heard of any permissions whatsoever.
So I guess my question is that with technology speaking, or looking at the technology, how are they connecting this to an individual shopper? I mean, is the shopper already in a database somehow? Are they caught at the a counter, checking out? How do they make that connection by just looking at facial software? Or do you know that?
Well, usually it's done when people enter the store, but there are also store cameras. Some of them may, for the ones where there are databases of like known shoplifters or criminals, and they can match that up automatically when they walk in a store. The other way, if they have, for example, if they have a picture of you coming into the store, they see you spending a lot of time looking at, for example, in CVS, you're looking at antihistamines or something a lot. When you go up to the counter, you give them your drugstore affinity card. They know who you are, or your credit card, and they can match them up. I don't know where it goes from there, but I'm assuming that a lot of this stuff is recorded because it's valuable information.
Thank you.
Senator Kissel.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Tami, great to see you this morning. We were all together last evening in Windsor for the League of Women Voters Forum, but I always welcome any constituent that comes before any of my committees, and I appreciate your thoughtfulness regarding this issue. I think it really is cutting edge, and that you're acting upon information that was provided to the public, and I'm intrigued and interested to learn more about this particular issue, because I think the concerns you raise, especially about an individual's privacy rights, and in particular children and grandchildren and other related family members, is spot on. So thank you for coming to testify this morning.
Thank you, Senator Kissel. And I also think that it's timely because in a year from now, if we haven't done anything with this, or at least not looked at this, the technology is getting way ahead of our laws and regulations, and this is one of the reasons I brought this up at this point.